and welcome to Not One Right Way, the podcast. It's me, your co-host, Melissa Manuel, she, her, and
it's me, the other co-hosts, Marvin Metawaki Nyaga, they, them, theirs.
How you doing, Marv?
Doing fantabulous.
How has your morning been? We're doing one of our rare morning recordings.
It's been pretty good. I woke up because my dad called me and said, "Your mom left the door unlocked. I don't want you to get stolen. Can you go and lock the door?" Which is very cute, but I doubt I was gonna get stolen.
I like that he said stolen and not kidnapped. Like,
No.
this jewel.
Or it's because, like, I'm not a kid. So maybe, like, you're too adult to be kidnapped, you'd be stolen.
Got it. Yeah. Fair enough. I'm glad you weren't stolen.
No, it was not. How's your morning been?
It's been good. I caught up on Primos. All the latest episodes have dropped, so that was nice. Love watching my Sunday morning cartoons. I am like a 10-year-old child. Gotta watch my cartoons in the morning to feel alive. And then did some wedding planning. Yay. Put together my mood boards. So fun. But yeah, very chill.
I feel like I should clarify for the audience that it's one of her many mood boards. This one, in fact, is separated into different parts.
Yes. It's a mood board with mood boards within it.
Yeah.
Subsections. I love mood boarding.
Yeah.
I also tried to call my sister, just putting it out there, and she didn't answer me. So just letting the audience know the continued drama of my sister ignoring me. So
Wow.
Putting her on blast on the podcast that she doesn't listen to.
That she does not listen to.
No support. But yeah, I know. What are you watching?
What am I watching? I just finished watching the latest season of Call the Midwife.
They're still making that?
You say that all the time. Yes, they're still making it.
So many seasons. It's incredible.
It's true. I think that was like season 15. Yeah. Wow.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Like, how many episodes? How many episodes are in a season now?
Like 12. And then there's the Christmas special. So I can't do math. That's too many. Over 100. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy for you because I know you love Call the Midwife.
It's true.
As you can tell, I was watching Primos, so enjoying that. And anything else I'm watching? I did watch the 3rd episode of Paradise, the show with Sterling K. Brown and Sonic's dad. I don't know the guy's name, but the guy who's in like
James Marsden.
James Marsden, yes.
Yeah. Sonic's dad.
He's just Sonic's dad in my head now.
Yeah,
I watched it for you. I get it. I'm still like not fully hooked. It's fine, but I do know why you like it. I get it. The therapist who like built a society to make people happy. Yeah. It's fine.
It's interesting because like the social planning that went into it is like wild. It is wild that they gave one person the job to like create a society. And like I want to understand more, and I hope that this gets a 2nd season just for this, just so I can understand this. If there were some sort of eugenicist principles within the world building here, when it comes to determining who is and isn't able to come into this like little bubble society, especially if you're thinking about long-term continuance.
Yeah, it is weird that they just gave the job to one lady versus like a committee, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a way to segue this into our guest because like the show's not funny and our guest is very funny. And that's my segue. We have an amazing guest today. Her name is Ellie Guzman. She's a writer and one of the funniest writers I've seen online and a great Instagram presence. Welcome, Ellie.
Hey.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. I feel like whenever people say I'm funny, I'm like, "Oh, no, now I need to be funny," and my brain goes totally blank.
It's totally fair.
But yeah.
Yeah.
No pressure to be funny. You can be so unfunny if you want.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
true.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
But
is
yeah,
your
thank you.
morning?
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me. My morning was good. I slammed a whole thing of yogurt with blueberries, so if you
Delightful.
see me, kind of, like, chugging water and stuff, I'm just trying to wash down all the yogurt.
Yes. I saw on your latest Medium update that you're no longer gluten or no longer lactose intolerant.
Oh, yeah. Oh my
Whoa.
gosh, I don't remember. I think that was me. Yeah, my fantasy version of myself. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I can digest everything perfectly. It's wonderful."
That would be the dream, you know?
Yeah, that
No
would.
no tummy issues.
The ideal peak human body. I can
Yeah.
digest lactose.
Yeah, I wish.
Wow.
There's a lot of things I wish I could digest, no problem, like red meat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Red meat. For me, it's gluten. I
Mm,
want pastries so bad all the time.
yeah,
I see a
I'm
bakery and
sorry.
I wanna eat it, and I can't.
You gotta come out to LA. I feel like there's so many gluten-free options. I mean, they're all so expensive, which is horrible for people that need to be gluten-free, but there's, yeah, more options out
It's true.
here.
Yeah. When Marv comes to visit, there used to be a place that did gluten-free apple pie, but they closed. I'm sorry, Marv, for your loss.
Yeah. It
Thanks.
was really hard. Like, I don't live there, obviously, and it doesn't affect me on my day-to-day life, but it's one of those things that I think about, like, "Damn, that gluten-free apple pie is gone."
Marv, would you like to start with your hard-hitting question of the day?
Yes. Um, what fruit do you think describes your gender? Gender identity, expression, gender in
Oh.
general?
Hmm. I know gender is a spectrum, and I am so, like, violently cis. So my sibling is non-binary, and, like, in all of our conversations about that, I'm just like, "Oh, I'm the most cis person on the planet." So then I'm like, "Okay, what would that be to me?" I think I'm a strawberry, like, that's how I relate to it, because it's very, sort of like, "Ooh, I'm like, I'm like the strawberry, but I also get really moldy just in, like, 2 hours." Um, and
Yeah,
I think that's what my gender identity is. It's like, "Ooh, delicious but moldy."
I feel that.
Yeah. And
Like,
I'm
I put
curious
on
to
my
see.
makeup, and then in, like, 1 hour, all of a sudden, my eyeliner's smudged, and I'm like, "Well, what was it all
Yeah,
for?"
let me put on my little green hat, or my little topper thing. Wait, that's a great question, though. I'm gonna text my sibling after this and be like, "Okay, like, what would you say?"
Yeah, that's interesting.
What fruit are you, Marv?
I don't know. I would say probably a delicious green grape,
Ooh.
especially the really big ones that are, like, have a mild sweetness, like, it's not a wine grape. It's not a grape for a little baby. It's thick, it's juicy, and the taste is mild but sweet.
Nice. I see that
Thank
for
you.
you.
Thank you.
I would say Honeycrisp apple because
Oh,
I like how sweet they are. They're the favorite apple. Anyone who says differently is a liar because it's delicious and sweet. But also, like, I don't know, just you could slice me up or you can eat me whole. I don't know what that means really, but that's how I feel. Interpret that any way you want.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm almost scared too, so I won't.
Yeah.
Like, I can s as someone who, like, is the middle child, I can stretch myself out a lot of ways, and that's what I mean, like,
Oh,
I
mhm.
think, you know? or I
Mhm.
can devote my full attention to one person if they're in crisis, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it anymore. too too psychoanalytical.
She's like,
Unhappy.
and yeah, great in pies.
Green pies. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Thinking about pie.
Yeah.
Great question, Marv. Ellie, why don't you share a little bit about your background? It looks like you were a former ER worker and now you're a comedy writer for children's TV. Could you share a little bit about that journey with us?
But yeah, a little bit about me. Yeah, so my background, I mean, I was born and raised in LA. My family is from El Salvador and they kind of like ended up here, which was great for me. And then, yeah, I went to college. I was the first in my family. I went to USC because they just like threw a bunch of money at me. So I was like, great, bet that's where I'll go, fight on, whatever. And yeah, I studied human biology. I was pre med, graduated, and was like, okay, I guess this is my life now. But, I loved comedy the whole time. So when I was there, I did stand up and I would just like write for myself. And then I would like add a screenplay class and take it off and add it back on my calendar and take it back off. And yeah, I finally ended up starting this like little humor blog when I graduated. And that ended up getting popular. So like I was working at the ER and then like Hannah Montana, like, putting on my comedy wig and going and writing something stupid. And yeah, it ended up being read by like the right person and they reached out to me and that's how I was able to like kind of get my foot in the door at DreamWorks. And it took a couple like interviews, but after about a year of that, I was able to become a PA and then just sort of worked my way up.
Nice. How long were you working in the hospital, I guess?
So when I was in college, I was volunteering at LA County in the emergency room and I did like a few hundred hours there. I forget how many. And that was kind of my first like emergency room experience. Loved it. It was so
Mhm.
fun, so engaging. It felt so good because I speak Spanish. So it also felt great to like help people who maybe couldn't speak Spanish and help them navigate that whole healthcare thing. So I did a couple years there. And then when I graduated, I became a medical scribe. And I did that for, I can't forget, I think it was like a year or a year and a half. Um, and yeah, I would just, run around the emergency room with my little laptop on wheels, following the
Mhm.
doctor around, taking notes.
That's fun. Do you think that experience, do you use that experience a lot when you're writing? Do you draw on it?
I think I drew on it more so in life.
Mm.
Um, I did want my first like comedy sample that I wrote back in 2020 was about a girl who decides to become an EMT. So that kind of had a little bit of that in it. Not a lot of it because I wasn't an EMT, but I think what stuck with me about the job that I carry with me still in life and a little bit in writing is like life is really short and it's cliche. But whenever, there was someone in the ER or their family member or whatever, the thing that every single person said was like, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, why me? Because it's like, yeah, we're all the main character of our own life. And I think it's healthy to think that you're kind of like immortal or immune, but you're really not. So it taught me to like embrace the chaos a little bit and be like, okay, I'm gonna like follow my dreams as corny as it is.
Mhm. That's fair. And when you got to DreamWorks, like you got the PA job, what was like the first thing you learned? Were you just learning the pipeline? Were you a production intern? What was the internship like?
Yeah, I didn't know anything. So originally, the team that read my blog, they had just promoted their script coordinator. So they were kind of looking for someone writery to become a script cord. And yeah, I interviewed and absolutely bombed it because I didn't know anything. I didn't know what an animatic was or storyboards, anything. So when I eventually did end up landing a PA job, I just had to learn everything. Like, okay, what are all the terms? What's an animatic? What's like a model pack at the time we called them, or like how to use Photoshop and like how to like look at a waterfall schedule. And animation production is so complicated and so crunchy. So like how to navigate that, and also all of these like soft people skills of like, go over there and ask Bobby for his time card, because prior to that my experience had just been working with doctors who are very like go go go, curt, brash, like all the information that you need because it's an ER.
Mm.
And this was more like, oh yeah, I need to be like, hey, so like what's your what's your favorite Pokemon and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can like kind of chill out a little bit because I was
Mhm.
very like eager to prove myself, and also, pre-med levels intense. So I kind of
Mhm.
had to chill out.
Very different vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the team that I went on, it was the show called Kung Fu Panda Paws of Destiny. The nicest people, they like took me under their wing, taught me everything. Like, oh, they saved me.
Did you know Miguel Baltazar?
Yes, he was our intern. So I was a production assistant. And I remember Miguel came on when I'd been on the show for like a year. And yeah, he would come in super early to practice storyboarding, do all of his like admin work, and then stay late like to practice more storyboarding. And I would like, on my breaks or whatever, I would like read magazines and whatever. Because I'm a strawberry. I'm like violently a strawberry. But and I would be like looking at like, what clothes can I not afford? And these models were in these like weird poses, and Miguel would be like, "Oh, can I borrow your magazine? I'm gonna try to sketch that pose." And I mean, look at him now. Like that's someone that put in so much work, and I'm happy for his success. I'm always like, "Oh my god, I know him."
Yeah, we got to interview Miguel, so it was fun. The crossover of
He's
Yeah.
awesome.
talking to him. Miguel's so great. He was so fun to talk to. So it's nice to
Yay.
see the small worldness of it
Yeah.
all.
Oh, it's tiny. Animation is so small. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you continue to progress at DreamWorks, going from production assistant onto your next role of coordinator?
Yeah, so on Panda, so there were 3 PAs, including myself, and 3 coordinators. And one of these coordinators was this girl, Bethany Armstrong Johnson. And she also wanted to be a writer. So she and I kind of like became friends, talking about writing and all of that. And she was the one that kind of taught me, like, okay, you're a PA, you want to become a production coordinator, and then you want to become a script coordinator. And from there, you're going to be in the writer's room. And then you can like get freelances and get staffed, because at DreamWorks at the time, and like I guess this is more common now, they combine the script coordinator and writer's assistant role. So in the writer's room, you're kind of the only support staff, which is like, it's good and bad. But yeah, so I just focused on becoming the best PA that I could, and like learning how to do that and how to coordinate and do animation, so that then when there was a production coordinator opportunity, I was able to like kind of, elbow my way into that
Mhm.
on another show. And at the time, DreamWorks was also really good about retaining talent. I think it's like shortly after that Netflix deal that they had, where they had like Boss Baby and all of these different shows on Netflix, they were making like a burst of shows.
Yeah.
So I was able to become a coordinator on Jurassic Camp Cretaceous.
And another fun question: did you meet Mabs on that one?
Yes, so Mabs, so I became a production coordinator, and then we had to interview PAs. And yeah, I met Mabs, and she's awesome. And yeah, she became my PA actually. So we worked together, and she was ready. Like I I felt like, when I came on as a PA, I had to learn everything. And then with Mabs, it was like she kind of already knew everything. So I was like, "Oh, this is amazing. Like this girl is practically already like spiritually a coordinator."
Mm.
So we were a good team, and I just kind of like honestly let her do like, I was like, "Yeah, girl, like go for it." And it also gave me freedom to like pursue my script coordinator goals and work on my
Mm.
samples and stuff, which I would not have been able to do if I had to like train more PAs. So
Yeah,
thank you,
more like
Mab.
hands-on training. Yes.
Yeah.
Love Mabs.
Earlier, you said it was like corny to like follow your dreams, but I feel like it's very courageous. I'm curious what that step looked like. Like, we know that you were interviewing at DreamWorks, but what was the sort of leap of faith that you took to get there?
Yeah, I kind of have to remind myself of like, because, right now the industry is very different.
Hmm.
And I think, it's like, yeah, follow your dreams. Like, that's wonderful. But I'm also, as time goes on, everyone is a little like, oh, I have to keep following this dream. It's not like, oh, I broke in, I'm done. It's like you have to keep breaking in, particularly on a year like this. So just like, yeah, I'm trying to summon the spirit of that little, oh God, how old was I? Like 23 or something. I'm like, oh yeah, remember her? Like, embrace that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd had my humor blog and that had kind of done well, but I wasn't making any money from it. And I was sitting in the hospital cafeteria when I got the offer from DreamWorks. Like they called me to be a PA. Like I'd gotten it. And I'm a very like analytical person and very cautious. And, my family doesn't have any money. Like I knew that it was a leap, but something in me, like I kind of knew in my gut, this is going to change my life. Because when I had interviewed the year previous for the script coordinator position, it was all fun and like, it was like, oh, maybe this will happen. Maybe it won't. I'm just like, we'll see what happens. But for some reason, this like PA position, I think it's because I knew that I could do it because it was entry level enough. And I was like, oh, I can actually hack this. And I don't know. I just heard the yes, I'll take the job coming out of my mouth before I had a chance to really scare myself out of it. And I think it did help that my family was like supportive because again, they don't really, they don't have a lot of money or whatever. So they were like, as long as you can support yourself, that's, that's what matters. And also a lot of the doctors at the ER had kind of told me, like, if you can picture yourself doing anything else, do that. Because obviously working in healthcare is so much sacrifice. And every dream job at the end of the day is still a job. But I'm glad that I followed my passion, which is writing, instead of what I thought I had to do, which was healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about your blog, and I wanted to ask you more about it. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how Lady Pieces came to be and how you still work on it? And is it a passion project? Like what is Lady Pieces to you?
Yeah, honestly, I'll be honest, I kind of abandoned it once I became a professional writer because if writing is your day job and then you have a different like I mean, it's good to write for yourself and I was just like, I'm going to put all of my chips in TV writing because that's really what I want to do. But with the blog, I mean, I'd had my personal blog that I was just writing silly stuff on and then I had an idea because I was reading I was reading some magazine because I read a lot of magazines, and it had a really stupid quiz, like what keychain is right for your zodiac sign, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You know what? This is hilarious, and I think I can kind of like make fun of this." So that's how Lady Pieces was born, and then I was able to just reach out to other female writers or anyone that wanted to write for it, honestly, on Medium, and it ended up getting kind of popular, which was nice. And then obviously during the first, Trump presidency, it was kind of like a great way for people to make fun of the whole thing. But yeah, over time, like as my professional writing career took off, I was just like, I need to have hobbies that are not in front of the screen. I need to touch grass. I need to like,
So important.
like learn how to like cook and do stuff like that. And yeah, I always feel a little sad about it and I want to make it active again, but I learned about this thing. It's crazy. It's called mental health. And I'm like, oh yeah, ever since I
Whoa.
introduced her to my life, things changed.
Yeah, I think that's fair because it sounds like a great use of practice when you're starting out, like a good place to stretch the muscle and grow. But then when you're full-time writing and that's your practice and that's your muscle growth, you don't need it as much. And it's still a part of you, but it's not as needed. You need to let yourself rest more than you did at the beginning of your career.
Yeah, and I'm also in a place now where even if I'm working professionally in kids animation, I'm trying to write maybe a half hour live action or an adult thing or a feature or to develop something. So I'm also spending a lot of free time writing for free, kind of for myself. So I'm just like, no, that can go. I'm not as attached to it now, but I'm very, very grateful for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of funny pieces on there. So it's
Yeah, I
still
mean, I'll
fun
leave
to
it up.
it still exists and people can go in and enjoy some of it still. You have a lot of freelancing in your experience now versus
Mhm.
being at DreamWorks full time.
Yeah.
How has that freelance experience been versus being at a studio?
Yeah, I think freelancing, it there's a lot less of it now, which is unfortunate because there's less shows. It used to be that you could keep yourself afloat between staff gigs with a lot of freelancing. And there's still a little bit of it. I like it personally, but I also know that it is sometimes an opposing force to having a stable writer's room. So it's kind of there's pros and cons. And yeah, every show is different. Some of them will bring you in and have you in the writer's room and you get to sort of develop your own little episode that you're writing for them. And others will just have an idea ready and give it to you and just be like, okay, go write this. And sometimes it's a hybrid of both. But yeah, I like freelancing. I think it's a great way to meet people. And it's nice because you also, it's I think it helps you keep your schedule flexible, and I I like to use it as a tool to be developing my own stuff on the side. And then when I staff somewhere, I'd like to sort of devote more mental energy to that project and really try to be the best writer I can be in that writer's room.
Nice. And then you also have your own book, which is pretty a big achievement. Do you want to talk about Rags to Rags?
Oh my gosh, my little baby, my little forgotten baby.
Oh,
So yeah, so that book came about because on my personal blog, I was just writing, little funny essays. And I realized I had enough of them and enough ideas. And then a few people were like, oh, you should write a book, think about it. And I was like, at the time I was trying to get staffed. So I was like, maybe this is a way for me to sort of, be like, hey, look, I wrote something in a way that's more digestible than a blog. So I just put together a collection of short stories and then I ended up kind of crowdfunding with the people who were already reading my work and then just able to put it out that way. And yeah, it was nice. It was a good experience. I wrote it so long ago. I wrote it when I was a PA. Obviously, it's that thing where you look back and you're like, "Whoa, I was so young." But yeah, I think it's funny. It's about being the poorest kid in the room because I went to USC. I was the poorest kid in the room there. And then when I was little, my mom had me doing commercials for some reason. And I was also the poorest kid in that room.
But
And then, finally breaking into the industry, often people talk about, their houses and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, nope, still poor.
yeah,
So, but finding the humor in that, being scrappy.
yeah. I'm thinking about me and Melissa's experience at Colorado College, and wow, that was also the feeling of being the poorest kid in the room. Oh, I'm just gonna use my weekly allowance that my parents give me to go on a ski trip. Yeah, you guys can all come. I could afford a cabin. It's like, that's crazy.
wow,
It's also a day-to-day thing. I would email professors and be like, hey, I know you said that we need to have these 5 books by the start of term or something. Can I get the syllabus ahead of time so I can see when I need what book? Because I just can't drop a grand. And some professors would be super chill and would be like, don't tell anyone, here's a PDF. And I'd be like, slay. And then others would be like, tough shit, poor. Why don't you
that's
go?
so
So I would
awful.
And I would go to the bookstore at USC and like take photos of the pages that I needed,
Yeah.
the books, and not buy them because I was poor. But yeah, you make do. And you find your own community in college too that understands you, but it takes some time.
Yeah.
Definitely. Marvin and I, Colorado College had this thing called the Questbridge program.
Yeah.
And so we show up on campus 2 weeks early, and you're just with the poor kids, essentially, like all the like students of color, first gen. And we're like, oh, this is nice. Like, we're all in this together. And then all the other kids show up, and they're all rich and they're all white. And you're like, oh, this is what it's actually going to be like. It's kind of traumatizing.
I had kind of like almost the opposite experience where I went to USC and, they had the like, I think back then it was called like Centro Chicano. I think they changed the name to make it more inclusive and stuff. But I was like, oh, great, it's the Latino building. Surely I will find my people there. And,
Uh-huh.
oh, excuse me. It was a lot of like first gen people and all that stuff. But then everyone still had more money than me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And everyone else wasn't working through school. And it was almost like, I mean, every community is different. Like, no one's a monolith, but it was cliquey in its own ways. And I was like, no, this was supposed to be the one place that I fit in. Dang it.
Yeah,
And I ended up actually finding more community with the other people who were working like part time at the IT place where I was working. But yeah, because we were, eating our little sandwiches huddled by the water fountain together. So yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked like 4 to 5 jobs when I was at school. Like, I had a scholarship, but it was just like, well, I gotta pay off this other amount of money somehow. So I was an RA, and then I had the on-campus job, and then I was doing other jobs just to like pay the day-to-day stuff. And I don't know, it was crazy. Now I'm like, I could never do that again.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Melissa's describing it now, but I, at the time, was just like, I don't know how she does it.
That's how
And
you burn out too. Like then when you're out of college and you're like, wait, why am I so sick? Like, why do I feel like crap all the time? Oh, because I've been burnt out since I was a teenager. Awesome.
dang, you didn't have to
Definitely.
say that.
Sorry, keeping it real.
Whoa. Yeah, yep. That is one of your articles, feeling burnt out.
Oh yeah.
Good click.
That's hilarious. Hilarious.
I wanted to ask, you write a lot for children's content. Is that something you knew you always wanted to write for? Is that something you want to keep writing for? You mentioned trying to practice writing for more adult stuff. Like, what draws you to kids' content? What is your like love in writing?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of silly, being a little stinker, and like I think growing up, the shows I really loved were the live action ones that were almost cartoonish, like 30 Rock, where it's just joke, 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 that kind of thing. I feel like I almost accidentally started working in kids because that's the opportunity that I got, my one shot, one opportunity moment. But as I spent more time in those writers' rooms, I was like, wow, these people are super funny. And so much of kids' content is really funny. Archibald is like one of the funniest shows I've written on, and that room was hilarious. So I was just like, this is great. And that's also where I was script coordinating. So it was a great introduction. And I was like, yeah, I'm having a great time and we're all cracking each other up. I maybe incorrectly assumed that writing for kids, you would have to limit yourself more, but you really don't. You can just swing big and then, if you go too far, the execs will reel you in. But yeah, I really love it. I like writing silly, funny things. And then, also like a couple years ago for the new Kung Fu Panda show, Dragon Knight, I got to write an episode where Poe's really depressed. And it's like funny, but also he's legitimately depressed because a lot of bad stuff has happened. And that was really nice to just write a little mental health episode. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like as the years have gone by, I've really fallen in love with writing for kids, but also, I'm sick in the head and feel like I have all these jokes that I want to do and all these dark things I want to write. So it is a goal of mine to write for adult as well.
Wow. I'm also sick in the head.
Yeah,
I
our
hear
dark,
that.
twisted minds.
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
I just want to talk about the eugenicist problems that might be occurring in this TV show about living underground after a nuclear apocalypse. No one understands me.
I understand you more. I get it. Those guys, we're friends. That's why we're besties. Do you believe, Ellie, in the possibility of YA animation? This is one of my dreams. Like, not kids, not like 3 to 8, and not adult, which is all boob sex joke, but like YA, proper teen animation, which is like, in my mind, Infinity Train is a great example.
Yeah, I think, I feel sometimes it's easy to sort of get stuck in categorizing things. Like, I do think adult animation fell into maybe a little bit of a trap of, butt, sex, cum, etc. But I mean, then I look at something like Blue Eye Samurai and it's just like, wow, and I feel like my personal metric for whether something is possible or not is if they would let a white guy do it. And I do think they would let someone do something YA. So then why can't we do it? Like I think something I hear a lot is, oh, you can't do kids animation and adult stuff. Like you kind of have to pick a lane. And it's almost like they want to pigeonhole all of us. But then you look at people like Lord and Miller and who are doing amazing things for different audiences. And like I have a couple friends, Ben Meckler and Chris Amick, like they've done kids animation, adult live action. Now they're producing. They just had this amazing movie come out and like at South by Southwest that they're EPing. So it's like, you know, who we can do anything and genre is no longer as restrictive as it used to be. And yeah, they would absolutely let a white guy do something YA. So I say it's possible.
Definitely. I'm glad that that's floating in this space because I do think we do get pigeonholed, and it's the same thing with like representation in children's animation. It's like this idea of like we can't do a mixed kid story. It has to be just one identity because it'll be too confusing for or whatever reason. But I can dream.
Yeah, I think honestly too, like there's the outside forces, if we get fixated on how they're so ready to oppress us, we end up kind of defensively oppressing ourselves. And I do think, and it makes sense why, but as marginalized communities, we talk a lot about imposter syndrome and imposter syndrome and imposter syndrome. And it almost seems to be like people will assume that you have imposter syndrome if you are in any way marginalized. And I think we honestly maybe need to fake it till we make it and like be our biggest cheerleaders because if we're not, they can smell that on you. And it's really, I mean, I don't know. I try to conduct myself with almost an aggressive amount of confidence because, and it's not for everyone and it doesn't always serve me, but, while also having humility and being kind and being responsive to notes and everything. But yeah, it's easy to get lost in the sauce of, oh, we're going to get so beaten down and all of that. And yeah, maybe we are, but mentally, I think we can't start prematurely doing it, which is obviously, easier said than done. And for what it's worth, I've met a fair amount of people who maybe are using their white guilt for good. So, there's like, or male guilt for good too. So it's not
Gotta
all
ride
doom and
that
gloom.
high.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, even if it feels that way, certainly. But they also want us to feel that way, right? Also on a global scale, they want us to feel almost defeated before we're defeated. But, yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so me and Melissa have been talking about Win or Lose, a very good children's animated TV show. Recent final 2 episodes just came out. one of them is definitely a trans story, but it's like it's so well done without saying like this is a trans story, this is about a Black trans child, and still has this authenticity to it that I think is amazing. And I'm imagining that, but scaled up for somebody who's like at a different developmental level, like with what you're talking about as like YA animation. And I'm like astounded by the possibilities and like in love with this idea.
That's fair. The episode was, and like what you were saying, Ellie, the way we shoot ourselves in the foot first before we let anything happen. It was like everyone saying, "Oh, they took the trans story out," so everyone was like, "We're gonna boycott, win or lose," even though the episode was still there and it still existed, and so like that ruins the possibility for more shows like Win or Lose to happen.
For sure. And then that's tough too, right? Because it's like if I made a show tomorrow, right, that spoke to my experience as like a first generation Latina, whatever, right? And then all the other first generation Latinas or something didn't watch it, or maybe people said something about it online, and then the company was like, well, we're never making a first gen Latina show ever again. That's not my fault, and that's not the fault of the audience either. It's not like, "Oh, all marginalized people have to agree with this one project and support it or else it's not gonna happen." It's still the
Mhm.
companies that are eager for any excuse to not make our stuff. And yeah, I mean, there's certain shows at certain companies that, I like to pay my rent. So I'm not going to say too much, but that are thrown under the bus by said company because yeah, they don't want the show to do well because they want an excuse to not renew it or not make more shows like it. And it happens in animation and it happens in live action, it happens everywhere. And yeah, I think that's also why maybe, I'm like it's it's tough because then I feel like, yeah, we also all end up fighting each other, like yeah, again, I'm like, "No, Ellie, you like having jobs. Don't say the name of the company. They're gonna have a small creature come in and bite you on the ankle," and
Yeah, you don't have to say anything. I feel that. It's like you have to be very careful because you don't want anyone to think you're being mean, but it's like, it is business and it is corporate politics, et cetera, et cetera.
well, it's also unfortunately not just one company. Like, yeah, some are
Mm.
more high profile than others, but this shit's happening all the way at all the studios of, like you look at, yeah, sure, look, we made a show with a diverse character. Aren't we the best people ever? But then you look at the leadership team and you're like, wait a minute. So, it's a widespread
Exactly.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I'm going straight to the top, y'all. I'm gonna be up there someday, making the hard choices. I hope. Or I don't. I don't know. Sounds hard.
So true.
Well, Ellie, do you have any final words of advice, wisdom for aspiring writers?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think something I've had to do because, I was working for a long time and then kind of burned out a little bit and just have sort of recently in the last year refound the joy in it. So I think really embrace the joy in it. I think it's so easy to get caught up on like, is this sample good? Is this gonna get me staffed? And like, oh, right now they say that shows with like boys who wear baseball caps are really in. So I'm gonna write a show about a boy who wears a baseball cap. And then by the time you're done with that sample, something else is in because no one knows what they're talking about. And anyone that tells you that they know what's going on in the industry is lying because it's so insanely unpredictable right now. So I think the thing that will save us is just finding the joy in it.
Mm.
And that'll make your stuff good and then sharing it with other people and lifting each other up, supporting each other, finding other aspiring writers, and like, uh, unfortunately, like, yeah, putting in the time and putting in the hours. Because going back to talking about Miguel, like, he was putting in the hours before and after work, and, like, when I was assisting, I was putting in the hours, and the best way to become a writer is to write, unfortunately. unfortunately. I wish it wasn't because I'm lazy, but it is. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. I wanted to be a writer originally before I shifted into being a producer, and everyone would be like, "You just gotta write, Melissa." And I was like, "Ugh, I hate that advice that it's so right and true." It's
Yeah, and also, the dream is never dead. Like, if you're writing for yourself and you're enjoying it and you're having fun, as far as I'm concerned, I think you're a writer who happens to work also as a producer. Like, there's a lot of people from all different walks of life that end up becoming writers. So,
yeah, maybe when I'm like 40, I'll come
yeah,
back.
seasoned.
I haven't written anything in years. It's still like a squashed dream, but like self-squashed. It's not like anybody came in and said, "You're a terrible writer." It was just me to myself.
Sometimes we self squash so that someone won't come in and say, You're a terrible writer.
Yeah,
So true.
it's true.
But yeah, so wise now that I'm 32.
30's the new 20, that's what they say, so.
Not for my liver, I'll tell you that.
Oh, it's okay. It's been so fun chatting with you, and thank you for sharing so much wisdom and knowledge. I am so glad we got to talk to you because I met you at, like, a Latinx and animation mixer, like, I think 2 years ago now? Oh, it was a while ago.
Wow.
But I'm glad we got to talk more, and I'm glad you're feeling better from your many root canal
Woo.
dramas. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun meeting you both.
Yeah,
Like
it was
talking
great
to you
meeting you
both.
too.
That was our conversation with Ellie.
I'm always so excited when we have somebody to talk with about, like, I don't know, like the nuances of the industry. I'm not in it. It's not my life, but I love hearing about it, you know?
I always appreciate having you there because you're not in it, and I think that's helpful, just, like and you're always great at analyzing in general because you have a great eye for those type of things. I don't know. I think your takes are welcome and appreciated.
Thank you. I did set you up to compliment me. I'm glad you took the bait.
Always. I never need to be set up. I can do it anytime. And Ellie was great. I'm so glad we got to meet her. She's so fun. Got a great, like, she's so much writing out there, which is good because she's a writer, but like a great, you know, God, what is the word? Catalog of work
Mhm.
to go and appreciate. So check out her stuff.
Mhm.
Put it in the show notes.
We shall.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, tell your friends to listen, tell your auntie to listen, you know.
Tell your dog to listen.
Yeah, just put it on in the room and walk away. That counts, you know.
Yeah.
Have a listen.
Yeah.
Get the numbers up. Our cover art is by Les, and our podcast is edited by Mark. And remember,
There's
not
one
right
way.
to switch from being in the medical field to becoming a comedy writer in animation.
There's not one right way to be the poorest kid in the room.
And there's not one right way to start a blog called Lady Pieces. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.